Hey guys, this is Ryan Sheehy, and this is episode 3 of my first feature. And today, we're going to be discussing short films.
I think my dog is dying. I'm terrified of being alone. I don't know what to do.
Dude, it's woods porn. You were right, dude. They're just porn in the forest.
Charlie, we made a pact. All right? You said you'd never talk about this.
At this point in my career, I've done quite a few short films, and I'll admit that they're not perfect, but I've learned something in the process of doing each one. So here are a few key takeaways that I learned making my short films and how I'll apply those to making my first feature. So the number one reason, and probably the most obvious, is it's good practice. In my logic, how do you know you can make a film if you haven't made one already? So instead of jumping into a feature film first, I decided to build my confidence, build my skill sets by doing short films. It was an easier way for me to learn storytelling, learn the visual medium, and figure out what things that I wanted to tell stories about and figure out how I wanted to portray those stories in a visual medium.
And the only thing we can do is not be a cowardly asshole who doesn't console their friend.
So as creatives, we have a lot of ideas. And I think I could speak for myself that when I have an idea, especially in the genesis of that idea, I get very, very excited. I want to pitch it to my friends. I want to get actors and my cinematographer on board for it. But ultimately, those ideas, they're usually half-baked. You don't know exactly if you can pull it off, and you don't know if people are actually going to like it. It's not necessarily creating success in your future projects, but it's preventing failure. And my philosophy on that is make bad short films, don't make a bad feature film.
I mean, if I'm trying to function from bunch in to bunch out, and I munch out too much once, you're gonna take lunch out of the pay?
Okay, so number 2 is finding your style. I think finding your style is such a difficult thing for any new filmmaker. And I also think that figuring out what your style is, or describing what your style is when somebody asks you, a lot of people just don't know how to describe their style. They're like, oh, I make what I like. But I think short films, short projects, any of these small form videos are going to be a way to slowly define what your style is. What kind of characters do you associate with, and what kind of characters do you enjoy writing? And I think one of the best ways to do that is find filmmakers that you like, or find artists that you like, whether you're into the Wes Anderson style or the Tarantino style. If you're into very indie, Duplass Brothers type movies, write what you like and then create short films with that. And eventually you're gonna find out what your style is. I personally have tried a bunch of different styles, from the very colorful and symmetrical Wes Anderson style, and I've imitated a lot of the Wong Kar-wai step printing and grungy exteriors and dramatic voiceovers. I personally feel that through figuring out and imitating other people's styles, you will eventually discover your own.
It's funny how life works. The more you live, the faster it goes.
Number 3 is learning about technical filmmaking and visual storytelling. In a lot of ways, especially if you're a new filmmaker, you think, okay, writing a script, getting an actor, saying these lines in front of a camera. That's the most basic form of filmmaking. As you start to grow as a filmmaker, you start to realize that there are so many other things that can help push your story and reel in your audiences. And that's not always the words on the page, and that's not always like the kind of camera that you're using. We're also talking about like, what are your outfits for your characters? What does it mean when a character is wearing the color red? Or for set design, like if the room is messy, like how does that enhance your character's backstory? How does that show their inhibitions or their motivations or lack of motivations? When it comes to cinematography, I think short films are the best way to experiment with different techniques that might be intimidating, might be things that like they may not work for your story. I mean, if you're shooting a comedy and everything's in close-ups, it might not be that funny. I think wide shots allow you to have a lot more like room in the frame for physical comedy. But if you're doing dramas, like maybe those close-ups are really selling those intimate moments because you can look deep into the eyes of your characters. I think knowing how these different techniques can affect your film, the only way that you can study it, you can read about it in a book, you can watch my YouTube video, but through practice is going to be the best way because you're going to see how people actually react to the content that you've created. All right, number 4 is building your network. And I come from the producing background, so I've been producing for a lot of years, and building my network was always a part of being a good producer. When I was hiring for a shoot and I needed like an assistant camera person or I needed a production designer, I probably have somebody like in my phone book that I can call for any position, no matter what. And I think as also like an independent filmmaker, you need to figure out who these people are that you want to work with on your feature film. It's more than just, do I like their aesthetic? It's also, do we get along? Can we collaborate? And that goes across every single department. You've got your production designers, you've got producers, you've got more technical like Steadicam operators. I think it's good to build your network, and through short films, it's a low stakes way to find the people that you plan to work with on bigger projects. All right, number 5, and in my opinion, one of the most important things is learning to be a producer. And I'll say it is very important to have a connection with an actual producer who you trust and who they believe in you as a filmmaker and as an artist, and they will go to battle with you. I think that that is a very rare thing to find, and if you can find it, hold on to it. But in the beginning of your career as a director, no one's going to trust you. No one's going to think, okay, I trust this person who has never done anything. So first and foremost, I think you have to take production into your own hands and learn how to be a producer. You have to figure out where you're getting your props. You have to figure out how the casting websites work so that you can find your talent. You have to figure out like location services. You have to learn how to assemble teams, and you have to learn how to organize. You have to be able to do accounting and budgeting. And also in the process, I learned like who I trust and who I want to bring on to my projects for the future. I have, fortunately, the first couple of films that I made, I did produce everything. But going forward, I did find other creatives that I was able to connect with that believed in me as a filmmaker and wanted to help me and be a part of the success of my short films. I think we all have the ability to use our left brain and be creative and explore new ideas or new perspectives, but you need to use that other side of your brain to actually make the project happen. And it takes some business savvy and some technical mindsets and some diligence and resourcefulness to actually make a film. Okay, so here are a few quick updates from my process. Right now, I am currently in rewrites. I am adjusting some scenes in my script. There's a few interesting scenes that I'm keeping the scene, but I am changing the location, and changing the location is like drastically changing the tone of the scene. So that's really something cool that I'm exploring, how even if the dialogue stays the same, the location change creates a more sinister or dark feel, which is creating a slightly different tone that we're getting from one of our lead characters. So I'm currently working on some rewrites. I have my producers from Mexico who are currently going through my script and creating budgets. That way I'll be able to soon present those budgets to potential investors. And last, I'm actually headed out to Boston. I'm going out there for the holidays to see some family, but I'm also going out there to produce a short film. I'm doing this really cool coming of age LGBTQ comedy that's kind of like Royal Tenenbaums, kind of Woody Allen-esque, kind of has French New Wave vibes. We're shooting 16mm. It's going to be really fun, but I'm producing a short film for a few days in mid-December, and then headed out to Connecticut for the holidays. But I'm going to do my best to find some quiet places to continue recording these videos, and I'll bring the new episode soon. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you on the next one.